A homecoming in Tefenni, a little town in the southwest corner of Turkey. It's 30 years since Muharrem Gökçen left his native country. He's been back a few times since then, but this is a special visit because this time he's on assignment for the United Nations. Almost the entire town turns out to welcome him, not just because he's a local boy made good, but because through all the years abroad, he has never forgotten them. He helped raise the money for this new high school so that their children won't have to leave for the city as he did when he was 10. Dr. Muharrem Gökçen now lives in the United States of America. He came here as a graduate student, and because at that time the best facilities for research in his field were in the U.S., he stayed on to become a successful doctor and medical researcher. While Dr. Gökçen has never regretted his decision to stay, he still feels a lingering indebtedness to his native country. This summer, he is returning to Turkey as a consultant for the United Nations through a program designed to make use of the expertise and goodwill of expatriates like himself.
I have always had desire really to do what I could do for Turkey. After all, that nation provided the medical education for me. And my intention wasn't to stay in the United States after my graduate training.
But he did stay. He got married and had 5 daughters. This is Leyla Gökçen's high school graduation day. Marriage, in Dr. Gökçen's case to an American, is one reason why many foreign graduates who have stayed on for their professional careers settle here permanently. Another reason often mentioned, their children's education. The family lives in a suburb of Minneapolis in the middle of America. The 2 youngest daughters are Jasmine and Arzu. 2 of Dr. Gökçen's sisters, also settled in Minneapolis, come to a farewell barbecue, a send-off for his trip to Turkey. His wife, Barbara, is also a doctor and works with him.
You don't have time to learn.
I'll teach you.
On the sticks, you?
When I got to be 50 years old, my wife was concerned that in my age I should slow down. As a result, probably I simplified my life to the point now that I don't have 3 full-time jobs, I have only one, namely research and clinical practice, part of research.
I know, because I'm not waiting until
She has to take the first
6 hours.
His 2 eldest daughters, Layla, 18, who will be going with him to Turkey,
I'm a great shopper.
and Sabia, 21, majoring in biochemistry. His middle daughter, Izel, 15. And last but not least, his nephew, Mikey. These are Mikey's Turkish relatives, most of whom he'll probably never meet. A granduncle who'll know him only from a photograph.
I come from a tribal family, so I'd say probably several hundred relatives spread all over other villages and Tefenni. I was born 52 years ago in the house next door to this one. My teacher in Tefenni grade school told my father that if he could possibly go to city so that I could get higher education, he thought I was a promising student for the future years. I graduated from medical school in Ankara in 1955. Well, I was one of the top students, so the professors thought I would be the best qualified to pursue further and bring latest technology to Turkey. The only way I could have done that would be going to the United States or to Europe.
The first presentation is going to be given by Dr. Muharrem Gökçen. He is board certified in internal medicine, and he has done an extensive research in rheumatology and clinical immunology. He is very well known in his field. Dr. Gökçen.
Dr. Gökçen's story is not unusual. Many people in this audience could tell similar stories.
Brothers and sisters, members and guests.
They are members of the Islamic Medical Association of North America meeting in Chicago.
Arthritis, new treatment modalities. I would like to discuss
Every year, thousands of scientists, engineers, and doctors leave their native lands and settle in the richer countries, a phenomenon known as the brain drain. These men and women represent a valuable resource, usually lost forever to their countries of origin. So the United Nations Development Program started a scheme to enable some of them to give back something to the lands that nurtured them. It's called TOC10, an acronym for Transfer of Know-how Through Expatriate Nationals. In his laboratory in Minneapolis, Dr. Gökçen and an assistant prepare materials that he will take to Hacettepe University Medical School in Turkey.
Correlation seems to be almost identical between ELISA and immunofluorescent staining. So this simple technique might be the answer to replace that expensive immunofluorescent technique. The medical school that I'm going to is more interested with cancer immunology, how to diagnose cancer early through serum testing, and also can you treat the patients with vaccine? That's the new field.
Little girls probably want dolls or something. I'll probably get clothes for myself.
Layla's trip is a graduation gift, paid for by the family.
So I should bring a sweater though in case it gets cold.
Dr. Gökçen will receive no fee for his services, only his ticket and a modest per diem for expenses. In fact, he is paying out of his own pocket for the medical materials he is taking with him.
We ask that you have your boarding pass out for the agent at the door, as well as the flight attendant as you go on board the aircraft. And there's no smoking beyond the lobby door. I'd like to thank you for flying with us this afternoon. We hope you have a very pleasant flight.
It's been 13 years since his last visit to Turkey, and none of the American side of the family has ever been there. Layla will be the first. His wife says she feels as if he stepped off the edge of the world when he goes back.
"13 years. Wonder how I will see those friends and relatives. 13 years, it's a significant time in one's life. Of course, this is the first time I have been assigned by the United Nations. Therefore, this trip is different. It's got some mission built in, some excitement and some challenge.
Ankara, Turkey. Each country with a TOC10 program develops a register of outstanding scientists and other experts among their expatriate nationals who want to participate, and sets up a selection committee with members from the government and the United Nations. Most requests for TOC10 consultants come from research centers and universities, but governments and private industry can also ask for a particular specialist, and different developing countries have made different uses of the TOC10 idea. Hacettepe University Medical School has requested a course on cancer immunology and rheumatology. Dr. Gökçen's first lecture is a summary of the latest developments in the field.
Hakiki genetik kodunu da biliyorsunuz. Buraya kadar anlaşıldı değil mi? Bir sual var mı burada? DNA kod üzerine? Yok.
Dr. Gökçen wondered if his Turkish would be rusty, if technical terms would escape him. He need not have worried.
Bu kısmı biraz yoracak sizi. Fakat bunu iyi anlamazsanız gelecek
Because the experts must fit their assignments into busy lives, the Top 10 consultancies are usually intensive and short, 3 to 6 weeks.
Hidrojenin nükleosu protondan ibaret. Ve proton da çocuklukta gördüğünüz topaç gibi boyuna dönüyor. İnsanın aklı ermiyor nasıl döndüğünü. Fakat fizikçilere sorun, herkes biliyor bunu döndüğünü. 30 senedir döndüğü biliniyor bunu. Topaç gibi dönüyor. Ve döndüğü zaman da biraz magnetik field de meydana getiriyor. Ve bunu eğer bir magnetik field'e koyarsanız iki tarafından, iki tane diyelim ki magnetik bir şeyin üstüne hidrojen şey yapınca, derhal hidrojen kendisini magnetic field'in yönüne göre kendisini ayar ediyor. İşte akıllı fizikçiler var. Bunu uğraşa hidrojenin diyelim.
The doctor has traveled far from his village origins, but he remembers with nostalgia.
We had no school. The Tefenni was the only place you could go to grade school. So I was the only student from this village walking there age 7, 1937. One way, 3.5 miles, and 7 miles round trip, winter and summer. Most terrible experience I remember, I was chased once by a wolf. It was one of those stormy, snowy days. So I started to scream and then run, scream and run. When you make such a noise, you know, and then usually wolf doesn't attack you. And then I ran probably 1 or 1.5 miles. And by that time I saw a hunter, and I told him that what I saw, and he fired a shot in the way up in the sky, and that was it. Because he couldn't see the wolf, because as I said, it was hiding behind me. That was the only formidable experience I recall. But good memories, you know. My summer vacations, I was partly responsible for goats and sheep. My actual job was probably keep company with my grandmother. We lived in Chadar. It's a nomad's house. Of course, they wouldn't trust me nighttime because that was the danger time that wolves would attack the flock. In a way, I was just an assistant shepherd. We used to keep milk, cheese, and yogurt in this box here. It was the ice box. And in the mountains, the climate was always cool, even in the summer months, that you didn't need really ice box anyway.
The landscape of their childhood is what many expatriates miss the most. No other scenery, however beautiful, is ever quite as satisfying. When Dr. Gökçen was a young man, he had to choose between his career and his country. He has come back to help ensure that other young men and women won't have to face that choice. He is helping to set up facilities for advanced research in his field. The students will be able to feel themselves a part of the mainstream of modern medicine without leaving their homeland.
One of the concerns I had before coming here was if I would be an effective teacher with the techniques I have been following in the United States. This fear, however, disappeared in the first seminar. Şimdi diyelim ki Hacettepe'de bir hasta var, boynu kapa çıkarıyor. Özellikle miyelin proteinler. Bunlar ihtiyarların hastalığı.
As well as conducting student laboratory seminars, Dr. Gökçen works with the research staff and faculty of the medical school.
My first priority would be to transfer technology that the people could use immediately. In other words, the technology that will help to make the diagnosis and to help the treatment of patients. For instance, one of the techniques is so-called ELISA. This is a new technique used in the diagnostic laboratories extensively in the Western world nowadays. The technique does not require to have radioisotopes, radiation material, which means you don't have to acquire those expensive items from Western countries. It requires only simple machines that every hospital everywhere in the world has got.
The advantages of a visiting expert who speaks the language are obvious.
Ben yeniden bir mikroskop yapsam emin olun ki bunun gibi gayet basit. Fluoreseni bunun altına koy, direkt olarak veririm. Dediğim gibi ışığı kırıp durduğunuz zaman intensity kayboluyor.
Also, people are often more willing to accept advice or criticism from a compatriot than from a foreigner. A reunion of Ankara University Medical School, class of 52.
Many of my classmates I have not seen for almost 30 years. It's a little bit depressing sometimes. They look old, as if I have not gotten old. Of course, I am old, but I don't feel it anyway.
In some countries with top 10 programs, the consultants have encountered envy and resentment from their fellow professionals who stayed behind. This is rarely the case in Turkey, one of the richer of the participating countries. And it seems the problem can be avoided if the consultants are sensitive and their qualifications genuinely exceptional. The lectures almost always ran overtime. There was so much interest and so many questions, and after the lectures came some of the most valuable exchanges.
Onu da koydum ben de bizim tezde ve yaptığım şeyler de o zaman bilinmiyordu. Double-stranded anti-DNA daha fazlaydı. Adeta kronik aktif hepatit lupusa doğru yaklaşıyordu.
In moments like this, contacts are established which can often extend the benefits of a top 10 visit through years of correspondence, exchanges of information and materials, and follow-up visits. These spin-offs are often the most rewarding part of the program.
Enteresan negatif noktalar.
Orada bir şey BSC arasıyla interferon yaptırıyorum diyorsun. Kronik aktif hepatitte BSC kullandınız mı hiç?
Hiç kullanmadım.
Interferon kullanın diye hep geliyorlar bize de.
Evet.
Dr. Gökçen seldom managed to get back to his father's house in Ankara before dark. And once there, a constant stream of relatives and friends demanded his time. His sister has come from the village, a 9-hour bus ride, to see him after 13 years. Preparations for tomorrow's lecture will have to wait till dawn. Home cooking is something else that's sorely missed. Layla has eaten many Turkish dishes in America, but this is her first taste of the real thing.
1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5.
10
It's
tane
about
koyacağım.
time you learn Turkish.
Layla's grandfather visited Minneapolis 14 years ago when she was 4. A devout Muslim, he disapproved of much that he saw there. Now he's 80 years old and hard of hearing. Canan, his youngest daughter, has to relay most conversations.
Tabii memleket burası. Akraba, annen, baban, sen, kardeşin. Çoğu burada. Tabii o hasretliği var.
Duydun mu? Söyleyeyim mi söylediğini? Diyor ki mesleki bakımdan iyi ama diyor, sizleri çok özlüyorum diyor.
Özürseydi gelirdi buraya.
Geldi işte ya.
Hani senede bir.
Kaç sene oldu abi?
10 sene olmuştur.
Kaç senede bir gelmiş.
10 sene.
10 sene.
10 sene olmuş da.
Bir 10 daha oluyordu yeter.
When the family first came to Ankara, they lived in the old part of the city.
In this house, there were 3 families. We were one on this side. We had only one room, and everything was there. Living room, dining room, kitchen, and everything. poor mother took care of all that. And the landlord lived in this section. There was another tenant. But this section hasn't changed. That house is the same.
Ama oruçluyuz, günah olur be.
Sizin orada oturduk 1,5 sene. 1,5 sene. Yani ben 5. sınıftaydım. Zehra Hanım'dı sahibi. Onlar burada oturdu. Siz bilmezsiniz.
Naci diye, aman Ercan diye oğlu var ya, en küçüğü.
One of the common sight you'll see in Turkey, coffee houses. It's not that bad because, you go to the places like Germany, United States, all you see beer joints. Well, you don't see that.
Do women go there?
No, it's exclusively for men.
What if I were to
Women
go
don't.
sit there?
Well, you will receive an attention, but we don't like it. You see that mosque there, the minaret? So that mosque is at least 800 years old.
Did you used to go there?
Yeah,
So
that was our mosque, yeah, that we used to go there. And this section is called Old Ankara. As you can see, everything is old, and castle is the oldest one. But you look down, that's the Yenişehir, means new city, new part of city. And any place you see the Spanish-style tile on the roof, that's New Ankara.
Turkey is on the verge of becoming a developed country. It has a burgeoning middle class, some of whom are willing to travel abroad if necessary to obtain up-to-date medical treatment. So, although cancer research and immunology might be considered a little fancy for UN aid, Hacettepe Hospital wants to be able to offer patients a service equal to that found abroad, so as to keep them in Turkey and avoid the loss of precious foreign currency. Some of the know-how that Dr. Gökçen is introducing will filter down through outreach programs to the smaller hospitals outside the capital and eventually to the rural clinics. In Tefenni, word has spread that Dr. Gökçen will attend the clinic. A 2-day vacation in his village after the Talk 10 assignment turns out to be a busman's holiday. Together with the local doctor, he saw 300 patients at the clinic that day.
It's a tragedy to see about 80% of women at childbearing age have thyroid goiter due to lack of iodine in their diet. This can be easily corrected by adding iodine to their table salt. In fact, I am going to recommend this to the United Nations and to the Turkish government in my final report. Nothing like home. Everything smells like home. Stone is different, soil is different, landscape is different. Sometimes you look at the memories buried in those hills, you wish that you would be there. On the other hand, you should feel blessed the fact that you have had unusual opportunities to become a servant to mankind through medical research.
3 weeks have sped by. There was not time to do all he wanted. He is worn out but satisfied, and Layla certainly enjoyed herself.
Oh, I like the relatives. I like, Ankara, shopping. If he gives me money, I'll come back.
It was a wonderful experience. I was really impressed by the reception and interest I received from the staff, professors and associates, interns, residents, and the students. In fact, probably in one word, the interest they have shown stimulated me to the point that I wish I could have done more.
If we have any problem with the technique, I think he has to come again to solve it.
We have started certain laboratory, especially diagnostic and research tests, but those would require continuous communications in the form of written communications and maybe at least one follow-up visit to make sure that those tests will be established and will be running smoothly. So that will be another gratifying point on my part, that what I started come to the practice point. In other words, mission accomplished.
The Top 10 program is now established in about a dozen countries, and each year nearly 200 men and women donate their time and skills in fields ranging from renewable energy to computer sciences. For most, it is a challenging and rewarding experience. And for those who may feel a little guilty about joining the brain drain, it's an opportunity to make amends. The United Nations Development Program has rarely been able to offer so much at such little cost. Not much more than the price of a plane ticket.